Hi everyone, Leslie O'Leary here today. I am going to talk about two different things that could touch some nerves today. Number one is originality of your work, and number two is value of your work. So stay tuned and join in the conversation. So initially I was going to talk about something very different, but as I'm finishing up a few workshops, I had a couple of students come to me and ask me about originality and also about value of their work. And, first off, I have to say kudos to them and thank you for reaching out to me to ask about my designs and how it could be original in their world. I can't tell you how much as an artist I really appreciate that. So originality is really, in my mind, pretty cut and dry. And that is if you have taken a workshop with someone else, or you have sewn or created something off of somebody else's design, you made it, but you didn't create it. And so that's the difference in originality. So if you took pen to paper and you drew it out and you drafted it and everything that you did was from your own hands, then it's original. Otherwise, the artist who created it really, it'd be nice to give them the credit for it. And I will say, thankfully, all my students do that for me, and I so appreciate that as an artist. And on the other side of this is nothing is really new in this world. We really only reinvent or revise things. And so don't get really hard on yourself about it having to be so original if you're in that genre. Also, I want to say that, us as artists, we are sensitive beings. And so when we see our work out there, and I'm going to speak for myself personally, when I see my work out there and somebody is taking credit for creating it, not making it, but creating it, it actually really breaks my heart. It really makes me sad. And that is because art is my entire life and I am devoted to it and I am devoted to my students. And so just something to take in mind when you're doing it is give that other person credit. They have worked, possibly sacrificed great amounts in their life to become an artist. And so that's about all I can say about originality. Remember, if you made it, but you didn't create it, it's not original. So thank you to the students who reached out to ask me about this. I really, again, super appreciate it. And then as far as value of your work, this is another thing that is, there's a lot of leeway with value of your work, and it's really what the market will bear. And so, and as you get better in your work should increase in price. So coming out of the gate, you're not at the level where somebody who's been doing it at 30 years has been doing it. I even have people, so I've been doing it 30 years, and I've had people come up to me and say, well, can't you create a $200 doll? I mean, your dolls are, they're in the thousands now, but can't you create a $200 doll? Well, you know what? I can't. I'm just not at that point in my life where I used to be. And I'm going to give you a little bit of story about value. I used to have a studio where people, the outside world, could come in, and I had all my dolls lined up on the walls. And I had a woman just off the street come in and look at my dolls, and she came up and she goes, wow. And this was a little rag doll that was sitting on kind of like gallery displayed type of thing. And she came up and she said, wow, that's a great doll. How much is that? And I go, that one's $225. And she goes, you're kidding. And I said, I know, can you believe it? It's such a deal. And so that's the thing is, People don't, if they're not making it, and you guys know this, the time and the effort and the thought and the gathering of materials and the schooling and the self-reflection that you have done to create a piece all goes into your creations. And so really don't expect the outside world to understand this. That is why sometimes I feel that artists can be like hypersensitive about it, because you've put all of that, your soul, everything that I mentioned into it. So take a step back, give yourself a little bit of whimsy, a little bit of like understanding where you're coming from instead of where they're coming from. They're not trying to insult you. They're just trying to understand. And then here's a really good story. It's a folk art story. I know that you guys might have heard this, and it's about Picasso. And Picasso was found in a town square, and a woman came up to him, Picasso, Picasso, will you please draw something for me? And she handed him a piece of paper and a pencil, and he sketched something out in a quick 10 seconds, and he handed it back to her. And he said, that will be $10,000. And she said, what? It only took you a minute or two to do this. And he goes, yeah, but it's taken me 30 years to get to this point. So, value again is what you feel that it's worth, but it is very easy as artists to overvalue our work because of all those things that I have mentioned. So we really need to look at market value. If you're not selling your work, it could be because of price point. It could also be of the market that you're selling it to. So if you have a really fine piece of artwork that you've done and you're in the local art school gym, and as you're trying to sell your piece in there, you're probably not in the right market. I know that's a big over exaggeration, but really understand the value of your work, especially if it is original. That is a big thing. And this is a secret that I am going to tell you guys. And this is something that I really hold dear to my heart. And when I started my career, probably 30 years ago, I looked at the other artists who came before me, who are substantial and really talented people. And I looked at what they were doing and how they were teaching and that type of thing. And so I, at that point in my life, made a strict policy for myself that what I sell, I do not teach. And so I make a very fine line between that. So I have my one of a kinds, and I have my dolls that I teach for class. And now in my life, I have people every once in a while ask me, will you teach one of your one of a kind dolls? Well, I don't, number one. And the number one reason is because out of respect to my collectors, I want to keep that value of that piece at that value for them and their monetary support that they have given me. And number two is, and I mean this in all humbleness, but what I am creating is I am pushing myself to my limit at the best that I can create. And I would never expect my students to do that. So there are a lot of backstory things, a lot of techniques that I have put into this. So my pieces might take me, anywhere from 8 weeks to possibly sometimes they sit there for a year while I develop what I'm trying to do in my head and come up with the technique. I'm super technique driven. I feel like if I can invent a new technique or redefine a technique, all the better. So I hope this helps you guys so much with everything. Reach out and let me know your thoughts on it. Again, thank you to all my students who always reach out to me to ask me if they can have permission to sell their piece that they've created in my class, or just to reach out and understand the process of being an artist. Thank you guys again, and I look forward to talking to you more. Bye-bye. Leslie O'Leary, your art, your voice.